time I trusted someone, I lost an eye.
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. We're finally getting that Coulson movie crossover that we wanted, not quite in the way we expected though, because Coulson is confirmed for the Captain Marvel movie, so I'll explain what's going on and how this all fits in with Infinity War and Avengers 4, but if you're finding me for the first time, be sure to subscribe to get all the Marvel videos. There's even a new round of the Infinity Gauntlet giveaway going on now. So first things first, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Coulson, coming back to the Captain Marvel movie, but what it sounds like is happening, because they didn't give too many details, like the simplest explanation is usually the correct one. The Captain Marvel movie takes place in like the early mid-90s. Coulson, Clark Gregg, would have been about 20 years younger at that point, is just a younger version of the character who's still working with S.H.I.E.L.D. because we know that Nick Fury, Maria Hill are going to be in the movie. But the funny thing about Clark Gregg though is that if you look at a picture of him from the movies that he was doing around that time about 25 years ago, he looks like this. Literally the exact same as he looks right now at the Black Panther premiere earlier this year. No special effects necessary. You don't have to use the special de-aging technology they used for Robert Downey Jr. during Captain America Civil War when they were doing that barf scene.
That's how I wish it happened. Binarily augmented retroframing, or BARF. God, I gotta work on that acronym.
I'll talk about plot, but even more important, they're bringing Guardians of the Galaxy characters into the Captain Marvel movie. So they confirm that Lee Pace is going to return as Ronan the Accuser, and Korath, who was played by Djimon Hounsou. Now remember, at the time of Guardians of the Galaxy, he'd gone full extremist, like he was about as crazy as he'd ever been in the comics. So I'm guessing this younger version of the character might get a slightly better arc than he had during Guardians of the Galaxy.
They call me terrorist, radical, zealot, because I obey the ancient laws of my people, the Kree, and punish those who do not.
Because as a villain, he served his purpose, but I felt like that could have been a lot better. Like that was during the era when Marvel villains just weren't written quite as good as they're being done now. The reason why he wants to kill the Nova Corps and everybody on Xandar is retaliation, or what he sees as the atrocities visited on his people during the Kree-Skrull War. So this does confirm that the backdrop for the Captain Marvel movie will be the Kree-Skrull War, albeit very different from the comic book version. If you've ever tried to read it, it's really convoluted, it's very twisty, it's meant to be this political thriller while at the same time being a war drama. The main character of that is Mar-Vell, the male Captain Marvel. So he comes to Earth disguised as a human and starts teaming up with the Avengers, but it kind of turns into this backdoor Secret Invasion storyline, like a proto version of what would become Secret Invasion. That was more of a Marvel line-wide thing, but during this original Kree-Skrull War, there were people in the US government that were Skrulls. They were trying to take over the planet. The Skrull Empire wanted to use Earth as a staging point. Ronan the Accuser kind of wanted to do the same thing, albeit in a more overt way, like alien invasion, destroy the Earth, take it over, turn it into an outpost for the Kree Empire. Which they kind of did during Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. earlier this season. They went to the future, there was this Kree overseer who was watching the remains of planet Earth for his father, who had a really high interest in it, so it was of interest as a location to the Kree Empire. But as for actual crossover, I know like that's the biggest question, is will this affect the TV shows because the movie's happening in the past, even though they're bringing Coulson back? It gets really twisty when you try to think about it too hard. So again, simplest explanation is the best. Coulson will show up because it's back in the 90s, he'll still be alive, he'll be a much younger version of the character, so everything will be fine. Nick Fury will have both of his eyes. They'll probably incorporate some of this secret Skrull invasion from the original Kree-Skrull War. That's probably where Nick Fury loses his eye. Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye.
Soldiers trust each other. That's what makes it an army. Not a bunch of guys running around shooting guns.
Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye.
You may have seen some recent footage of her running around behind the set in her costume, the original version of her costume. This is kind of what it looked like. So by the end of that movie, she'll probably change her colors so that it looks more like comic book Captain Marvel. If you didn't know, Jude Law is playing Mar-Vell. He was also seen recently on the set. We don't know exactly what his costume looks like, but it's probably a version of the Mar-Vell costume from the comics. But the big thing that we don't know yet is how she gets her powers, because the actual origin story is changing just a little bit. So it sounds like they're weaving her more in with the Kree-Skrull War, this secret invasion storyline, which would explain why Mar-Vell has to come to Earth, to try and stop the Skrulls from taking it over, and also, at the same time, to try and stop Ronan the Accuser and his Kree forces from taking it over. So it sounds like Earth becomes this kind of battleground, but that doesn't explain everything, because if you have this giant alien invasion in Skrulls Among Us, then how do they hide any big battles or any big fights that they have from the public? Because if two alien races were warring over our planet back in the 90s, it would be pretty big news. Like, I don't know how you would suppress something like that. So what might end up happening is that you just have a little bit of this happening on Earth, then they go into outer space, and that's where most of the crazy stuff happens. But most of the plot is still wide open to speculation. Just the inclusion of Ronan the Accuser, Coulson, Nick Fury talking about the way he lost his eye in sort of the original comic book storyline, you can piece something together. So imagine a version of that. But let me know what you guys think about this. Them bringing Coulson back, I think that's so great, because otherwise they were going to have to use Everett Ross. So I'm wondering if he pops up too, but I feel like if they're bringing Coulson on, because Everett Ross is kind of like the new Coulson who pops up in everyone's movies, they won't use him. But the thing about that is that he's an Air Force pilot. Captain Marvel was an Air Force pilot. So there's just like a couple ways that you can sew all this together, the larger Marvel universe. So everything is still connected, technically. There was a WonderCon panel recently where the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. people were asked point blank, how is Infinity War going to affect the TV show? If the TV show continues, assuming they get another season and it's not canceled.
I'm looking at you guys, because we technically can't.
Yeah, these are the kind of questions where we have to answer everything but the question.
Yeah.
I'll say they're probably not going to be stoked that I mean, you see in the preview, crazy goes down, you know. Our show is sort of, the thing we love about what our show has become is that it always follows, the movie sort of blazed a path. Doctor Strange introduced magic, and all of a sudden we could have Ghost Rider on our show. The Guardians of the Galaxy are introduced, and all of a sudden we're in space. So we're just waiting for that movie to come out so it can open up a whole new playground for us, and then we'll be able to send these people on a new adventure.
They didn't say anything specific about plot points. They made it sound like they have no idea what happens during Infinity War. And if they incorporate that into the plot of the TV show, it won't be till they start working on the scripts for next season. Because the same thing happened during Winter Soldier with the Hydra twist. Like, they actually started working on the TV show, and the writer's room said that they largely did not know about the Hydra twist during Winter Soldier. So they're like, wait a minute, we just started doing a TV show based on this organization that has now been effectively destroyed in the movie universe. How is that going to work? So you start to see some of the problems with trying to cross over TV shows with the movies. And the Infinity War directors also said that there were so many people from so many different movies consulting on Infinity War that to try and bring in a bunch of other extra teams on top of that to consult would have been almost impossible. They just didn't want to have to deal with a billion different people giving their input. So better to just kind of push it off into the distance and let the TV shows incorporate the movie plot however they wanted to. So from the movie standpoint, they're totally fine with what the TV shows do that involves movie stuff, but the movies are never meant to reference what's going on with the TV shows. So hopefully that explains a little bit about movie-TV show crossover. There'll be a bunch more Marvel stuff dropping later this week, so leave all your bonus video requests in the comments. Congratulations to Treva, you're the latest giveaway winner. Please private message me so I can get your contact details. There'll be a new round when I post new. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.
Hold up.